This morning we do have with us Kaleb Roebuck. Kaleb, how are you?
Good, Aaron. Good morning.
What do you know?
Oh, just a beautiful Monday morning in Sunshine Country Radio.
Isn't it? Also with us, Marcus Taylor. Marcus, how are you?
Good morning. I'm doing pretty well.
I love what we're going to talk about here today. We've touched on this in the past. Emotions and making financial decisions. Boy, that's a timely one, isn't it? So here we go. What are we going to talk about here, Kaleb?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. And, it's a great topic because, financial decisions are way more than just about the numbers. And, we're living through a time right now that some of the numbers are pretty in your face and pretty top of mind for people. So, we did want to kind of touch on that, but talk about, how should, retirement long-term investors try to frame some of these things and make those, good emotional long-term decisions and, hopefully not succumb to some of these short-term, traps, that you make decision making, but also that can happen in times of stress in the markets like we're seeing now.
Okay, Marcus.
Yeah, and I know a lot of times people think of money as being pretty logical, right? I mean, especially when it comes to budgeting and things like that, it's a lot simpler. But when we look at investing, that's where, emotions are always part of that equation. And just some of the things we want to be thinking of are, we hear people say all the time, it's okay if it goes down, I'm buying cheap, or if I stay in, I'll make it back. But at the end of the day, we know emotions are a big part, and they do tie in. And especially when the news headlines start to wear on you a little bit, even if you know better, we maybe don't feel better. So all kinds of things we'll talk about a little bit today.
Absolutely. And you can't escape those headlines right at the moment. That's for sure. So,
exactly.
Foundational question here for you. Why do emotions even come into play? Why are we even thinking about it when we're dealing with money?
Yeah, that's a great point. And, for better or worse, money is deeply tied to our sense of security, success, and even identity, So it's natural for emotions to be involved in something so personal, and from a society level, that's just how it's ingrained. So like Marcus said, even though we know some of these things, better or not, it's just hard to detach some of those things sometimes because it is so intertwined.
Yeah, and money's kind of always had your emotions in it too, right? While you're saving it, I've worked really hard. I spent all this time at work to save all this up. I don't want to squander it away. And then when it comes to actually spending the money, those are usually for pretty major life events is why we've set those aside. Things like buying a home, sending a kid to college, planning for retirement so you can stop going to work someday, hopefully, right? But all of those things, both the saving and the spending, have emotional weight attached to them. And that's why we often put emotions to the money, right? So
makes a lot of sense.
Yep, but not everything's about numbers. There's hopes, fears, and the feeling of, am I going to be okay long term?
Traditionally, we've been told to keep emotions out of financial decisions, but new research, hey, here we go, it suggests otherwise. Explain that to me.
Well, yeah, if you think about it, traditional finance or traditional finance theory, is all about the numbers and assumes, people act rationally because they're doing math. If it's all math, then we would assume, hey, we can all do the same math and act rationally. But, behavioral finance and neuroscience show that, decision making involves both logic and emotions. Again, when you make a decision to, buy a new car, buy a mattress, whatever that may be, that big purchase, that is an emotional decision and a financial decision. So it is intertwined. And, financial planning, when we talk to clients, is basically a blend of those things. There's the art and the science to it. There's, hey, what do the pure numbers say? What do the spreadsheets say? But then, hey, what do you actually want to do? And a lot of times, the answer is somewhere in between. That makes mostly the math sense, but also, hey, what do I emotionally want to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think of it like when you start a new job, right? You think very step by step of, okay, I need to read the manual. I do A, then B, then C. And eventually it just kind of becomes second nature, or you have that gut feeling of what do I do next, right? You just kind of know. And so studies have found that professional traders do experience emotional reactions, and that sort of gut feeling or just an overall understanding of what's going on actually helps them make quick decisions. But at the same time, those gut decisions can't be used forever or for every decision. If they go unchecked, emotions can also lead to impulsive choices, bad choices, negative reactions, things like that. But, studies have shown that professional traders do use emotions.
Huh.